I went to Cheapside Market on Wednesday at the invitation of a young lady who I taught at school at Combermere and some other people. We walked through Cheapside Market, a total ghost town. That was the largest group of people that had visited Cheapside Market since the year 2002 when it was open. That group that I took, which consisted of 12 persons, was the largest group that had visited since then. We talked to the vendors. They explained their challenges and their problems to us. And no sooner than we left Cheapside, the Minister of Agriculture, former permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance, he was my permanent secretary. I never really studied how Owen Arthur used to have so much information on what was going on in the Ministry of Finance. And I don't look back. But he was well rewarded for the work that he did on behalf of the party that he supports. And he is now the Minister of Agriculture. And by that evening at 7 o'clock on the news, vendors that had been asking since the year 2002 to be able to ply their trade outside of the market so that people would realize the market is open again and it would encourage Barbadians back into Cheapside Market. He was now going to issue them temporary licenses so that they can sell outside the market until Christmas. And no doubt they will extend it until elections. And then after elections, a reign of terror will be once again visited and inflicted on these Barbadians. So that every time we raise an issue, and as David Thompson said tonight, in the last budget in March, I had to point out that the Prime Minister devoted 2 sentences to the problem of the cost of living in Barbados. And we set out an entire program which dealt with the cost of utilities, the extension and expansion of the food basket in relation to the incidence of value-added tax, the question of the reintroduction not of a control on markups, but of price controls. But we didn't only tackle it from that end. I also spoke about the social partnership in Barbados. And I reminded Barbadians that in 1992, the Democratic Labour Party introduced in this country a prices and incomes protocol and brought the private sector, the trade unions, and government to the table to discuss an arrangement where the private sector would moderate price increases and where the workers of Barbados would moderate their wage demands. And we went through item by item to make sure that the private sector in this country was not able to engage in price gouging. What we are talking about in Barbados today is not any nebulous concept about the cost of living. It is about price gouging. And that is a different matter. Do you understand what price gouging is? It is a wicked and nasty form of capitalist exploitation in which people are charging you for goods in the supermarkets prices that are unconscionable. That's what we're talking about, you know. That is what the Prime Minister said it was. He said there is evidence of price gouging in Barbados. But they passed legislation to establish a Fair Trade Commission. And they said that price gouging would be a thing of the past. this is not the first time that this government has said that it is going to enhance the capability of the price control division, and they're going to go there and monitor price. This is not the first time, and I'm telling you that all of this is because elections are around the corner in Barbados. Do not be fooled by it, because this is a question of your future. If you think that Mia Motley didn't understand what she was saying, you know they like to say she speaks without notes and how brilliant she is, and no doubt there are those who believe that, and I am not going to change their mind. If somebody in their first utterance in today's newspaper said that we do not know how long this policy will last, but we believe it is sustainable. Well, we can answer that. Kisima said lawyers don't ask questions they don't know the answer to. So I will ask Ms. Motley the question, how long will the policy last? The answer to that is until the next election. I know it is sustainable. Not the people who are in that room. And the Democratic Labour Party knows it is sustainable, and that something can be done about price gouging in Barbados. The solutions they have suggested don't solve anything, because they're not going to attack it at source. They're not going to take on the titans of business in this country. And what they're going to do is hurt those persons who, as David said, are operating small shops. So they're going to effect 20% reductions, but you can rest assured that they're going to get back 30%, because the principal thing that Baino said is that the private sector has to be compensated. He said it again tonight. Well, I won't be surprised, because that is their position. And you need to understand it, so that they have not done you any favor. This is a stopgap measure. It smacks of politics. It is being done for electoral purposes. And my question to the people of St. James Central, as I speak to you tonight from this platform and to wider Barbados, is who will ultimately have to pay back the merchants in this country? Who will ultimately have to compensate them? You think it can come out of Mia Motley's pocket? Or Owen Arthur's pocket? Or his overseas accounts? Or the St. Peter Development Fund? Or the bank account into which he deposited that massive check in the last election? It ain't coming from there. It is coming from your pocket. And understand that if the people of Barbados were ever to give this Barbados Labour Party government the opportunity to be re-elected again, that every single cent that you have saved by way of those temporary reductions, you're going to pay back, and more. And more.